Hey friends, so today we're going to work on multiplying decimal fractions with tenths by multi-digit whole numbers. And this might sound a little scary, but we've been doing it, so we can totally handle this. Now, before we get started with multiplying the actual decimal numbers by whole numbers, the first thing we're going to do is practice this little math activity. We're going to multiply and then divide by the same number, which sounds kind of crazy, but there's a reason for it. So 3 times 2 is 6, right? We got that. 3 times 2 times 10 divided by 10 is 6. Why is that? Because when I multiply by 10, I move one place value to the left, and when I divide by 10, I move one place value to the right, so I end up in the same spot that I started. So now I have 5 times 3 tenths, which would give me 1 and 5 tenths. And if I multiplied 5 times 3 tenths, and then I multiplied that by 10 and divided it by 10, I still have 1 and 5 tenths. Now, if I have 3 times 2 and 5 tenths, that gives me 7 and 5 tenths. And if I multiply 3 times 2 and 5 tenths times 10 and divide it by 10, I end up still with 7 and 5 tenths. Okay, friends, so now we're going to get into the actual multiplying this decimal number times a multi-digit whole number. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take my 2 and 4 tenths, and I'm converting it to just tenths. So 2 and 4 tenths is 24 tenths, which I would get by multiplying 2 and 4 tenths times 10, because there are 10 tenths in 1, and that gives me 24 tenths. So now I'm going to come over here and multiply by 3. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 20 is 60. Now, I'm also going to multiply by my 40, and you know how Miss Walker loves to color code things. So 40 times 4 is 160, and 40 times 20 is 800. Now, I can add up my partial products going across. 60 plus 12 is 72, and 800 plus 160 is 960, and when I add those two together, 2 plus 0 is 2, 7 plus 6 is 13, regroup the 1, I have 1,032 tenths. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to do my standard algorithm, and then we're going to convert this back to tenths. So 3 times 4 is 12, and I'm going to write down my 1 over here by my tenths place so I don't lose it, because 3 times 4 is 12. So I write down my 2, keep my 1 in the tens place. Now 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. And there I have the same 72 that I got from my area model. Now I'm going to multiply 40 times 4. So I need that 0 in the ones place. 4 times 4 is 16. And again, I'm going to put my 1 over here. But this time I'm putting it in the hundreds place because I don't have anything else there right now. Now, and really 40 times 4 is 160, which is right over here if you're confused. 4 times 2 is 8. Got my 800. So I've got my 8 from 4 times 2, and I'm going to add one more, and I'm going to get 9. Now I've got to add those two partial products together, and looky here, I have 960 in both places. 2 plus 0 is 2. 7 plus 6 again is 13. And now I have to regroup that 1. And 9 plus 1 is 10. So I have 1,032 tenths. And I want to change that into ones. So I would divide by 10, and I would have 103 and 2 tenths. Okay, so that's our first problem. Hopefully you're still with me and you're not confused. Now, I want you to write down the second problem so that you can do it with me. Okay, so now this problem is 3 5/10 times 42. So, 3 5/10, when multiplied by 10, gives me 35 tenths, which is what I have over here and what I have over here. So now we're going to multiply. And please stop the video, draw your area model, get all set, then press play again. Okay, 2 times 5 gives me 10. 2 times 30 gives me 60. When I add those two together, I get 70. So 70 is my first partial product. I ran out of room over there, so I'm going to have to put it over here. Sorry, guys. Now let's do the second one. 5 times 40 is 200, and 40 times 30 is 1,200. And when I add those two together, I get 1,400. Again, Miss Walker's running out of room because she wrote too big. So, add those two together, I get 1,470. Now, that's how many tenths I have. Let's do our partial products in our standard algorithm. So, 2 times 5 is 10. Write down my 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. There's my 70. Again, multiplying by 40. What do I need in my ones place? A 0. 4 times 5 is 20. And I'm going to regroup my 2. Now, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. When I add them together, I get 1,470 tenths. And because it's tenths, I need to put my decimal between the 4 and the 7. So 1,470 tenths equals 147 and no tenths. So I can say it just equals 147. Okay, let's try one more together and then you can work by yourself. Hopefully by now you see where we're going. 15 and 6 tenths equals 156 tenths. So I'm going to multiply. 3 times 6 gives me 18. 3 times 50 is 150. And 3 times 100 is 300. When I add those together, I get 468. Just like doing regular 3 by 2 multiplication that we've gotten so good at lately. 70 times 6 is 420. 70 times 50 is 3,500. And 70 times 100 is 7,000. Now, 7,000 plus 3,000 plus 420. I want to make sure I line up my decimal places, so I'm doing it underneath and you can't see it, and I'm sorry. But that is going to equal 10,420, and I'm going to add my 468. 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 2 is also 8, and 4 plus 4 is also 8, and then I have my 10,000. So I have 10,888 tenths. My goodness, that's a huge number. All right, let's check out what happens when we do it in standard algorithm. 6 times 3 is 18. I'm going to write down my 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. I'm going to write down my 1. Finished with that one. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Now, whoops, Miss Walker wanted to change colors. But you know, we're multiplying by the ones place, so I got to have my 0, or by the tens place, so I got to have my 0 there. 7 times 6 is 42. So I'm going to write down my 2, regroup my 4. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 more is 39. Oh, Miss Walker, you messed up. This should not be 3,000. It should be 3,500. So that should be 10,920. See, I messed it up anyway. So that should be 8. 9 plus 4 is 13. It's even worse. I got 11,388 tenths. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Now I've confused you all. Okay, so we're going to go back here. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 more is 39, and 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 more is 10, and now I can add 8, 8, 13, regroup, 1, don't have anything to regroup. So I have 11,388 tenths. So that equals 1,138 and 8 tenths. So, again, remember, we multiply this number times 10 to get this number or this number, and then we just divide it by 10 again, and we get back to our tenths. I'm really sorry about those mistakes. I hope you forgive me. Go work on the problem set. Bye, guys.